It's Patrick at Pals. Yep, today's the day. The 1966 Corvette is going home. And here today with me is Jim Preston. Jim is a master certified technician. He's worked with me for about 20 years. And he did most all of the work on this car. Jim, you probably remember the day that we took this car out of the garage. Tell us about it.
Yeah, when we went to pick this vehicle up, it was basically a shell of a car. There was just an engine block in it, and no interior, and it was that car stripped down with just a box of parts. Hopefully they were all there, which most of them weren't.
So it was a rolling shell. Did it have any engine components or anything in it?
All it had was an engine block.
So all of the pulleys and accessories were off the car. And how about in the interior? Was there any interior in the car?
Interior.
The interior was out. So
yeah.
you got basically a rolling shell, and you took that rolling shell and made it look like this. That's pretty spectacular. So where did you start? Was the first process taking the frame off the body off the frame?
The first thing we did, we stripped the body completely down, pulled it right off the frame. And the body we didn't take care of. They went to a body shop, but we sent the body to the body shop, and while it was at the body shop, I completely stripped down the frame and went over every nut, bolt, screw from bottom to top. It's basically a brand new car.
Wow. So the first step was to separate the body from the frame. Then the body went to Gene Lyle's at Lyle's Collision to be refurbished. Now, while the body was there, what did you do to the frame? What was the next steps?
Well, the first step was, we completely stripped it down and down to just the bare frame, and then we cleaned any rust and corrosion off of the frame, and rust-proofed it and repainted the frame with the proper frame paint. And any worn-out parts or bushings or whatever were all replaced, and the good parts were all refurbished and all repainted, and everything was put all back to better than new specs.
That's fantastic. So once you put the brakes and suspension on the frame and had it rust-proofed and treated, then what happened from there?
Well, this vehicle originally came with a 327 in it, and the 327 had a crack in the block, so it ended up becoming a resto mod. And what they had us do, we went ahead and put a 383 stroker in it, and it had a Power Glide automatic transmission in it. It was just only 2-speed. Now it's got a 5-speed manual transmission in it.
Now I notice on the engine, Jim, these cars all had separate pulleys and belts. This is one belt, and one belt drives everything. That must be a Serpentine system?
Yes, we installed a Serpentine system designed by Holly. I think they're a good system. That's what we put on this vehicle. Everything's been updated to new technology. When the body came back and we put it down on the vehicle, I rebuilt the entire wiring harness to accommodate everything for the new stereo system and everything else.
So it's got electric air conditioning now as well, isn't that correct?
Everything on this vehicle is electric now. Everything, and it's all got proper electricity going to it because of the new type of wiring harness we put on. It's got high voltage system, and it's got multiple grounds. These cars had great problems with grounds, and now everything in the system's got its own ground. It's all clean, and everything works bright. And on top of that, the customer with the aftermarket air conditioning, which blows and works much better than the original, she wanted side pipes, which weren't original. We put them on. And then we went ahead, and she also wanted to have her stereo.
So you put in a stereo box in the back.
Yes. She wanted loud side pipes, but she also wanted her stereo to hear over that. So what ended up happening, we ended up putting a Bluetooth capable and satellite stereo system radio in there, and a whole stereo system with amplifier and subwoofer.
Now you had to do a lot of fabrication on this car, is that correct? Like for instance, on the fan shroud up here. This fan shroud is totally homemade, is that correct?
Yes,
and it fits the car perfectly.
Yes. Anytime you work on some of these cars, there's always a bit of fabrication. Nothing really comes out of the box and direct bolts on. Even though they say they do, they never do.
And it's like the stereo box back here.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is something you can't get off the shelf. You hand built that to fit the specifications of this car.
You can, but I built this one myself to fit the vehicle in its space.
And little things that you wouldn't think of, the reveal molding on the windshield. We had they just aren't available anywhere. So you actually fabricated this reveal molding, and you also fabricated the ventilator moldings here. Is that correct?
Well, the reveal molding was available, but it didn't fit right. I had to modify it to make it fit. There's always, like I said, there's always some modifications. And as for the vent windows, there's one piece of rubber that's not available, and I had to get creative and make the new seal out of other types of window vents.
That is fantastic. You know, a man with your knowledge is hard to come by. We're very fortunate to have you at Pal's Ocala Auto Repair. And folks, if you have a restoration, a car that needs a restoration, bring it to Pal's. You'll meet Jim Preston. Take care. See you soon.